So tonight we're answering your questions. We're going live. I'm going to drop this down just a little bit here, right there. Perfect. So we'll wait for everyone to get in here and then we will answer questions. Just got back from a long day of baseball, but I always enjoy talking baseball. So haven't done a live session in a while, have done some live MLB The Show, Road to the Show videos, but haven't done any live Q&As. So what's up, B More? What's going on? Everyone's gonna start to come in now. Hey, what's going on? I've been great. How you doing? Hope everyone's having a good night. Hi, Fuzzy. Hey, Chet. Condorian. Hey, what's going on? Hi, Tom. Galaxy, what's up? So hold your questions real quick, everyone. Jacob, what's going on? Corey, sports fan, what's up? I'm just gonna say hello to everyone at first, and then we'll get to your questions. What's up? Yeezeet. Chuck, hey, Chuck Shields, what's going on? Johnny Rye. Great to catch you too. Bud, howdy. Victor, what's going on? Christopher, hello. Hi, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so it looks like we're starting to get some people in here. Hey, Daniel, what's up? If everyone could do me a favor and give the video a thumbs up or a like, I should say, that would be awesome. And then we'll, hi, Jason, what's going on? And then we'll start to answer your questions. No problem, Jeremy. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so the last few weeks for me have been so busy with baseball that I have not watched Major League Baseball, which is crazy. I haven't watched a Major League Baseball game in like 2 weeks. I've been, this is the busiest I've ever been in my entire life. So back to Atlanta. I'll be in Atlanta this summer, actually. Hey, thanks, Ashley. I appreciate it. Tell your son good luck. I have played baseball in Texas, yes. I've played no major league games in Texas, played in a lot of minor league games in Texas. And did a pre-draft workout with the Rangers as well. Night's going great, Fuzzy. It's been a long day. Late age to start playing baseball really depends. I mean, like Lorenzo Cain, someone that comes to mind, is someone that has played in the big leagues for a long time, and he didn't play baseball when he was really young. So I do think baseball is an acquired skill. Like, you have to play it a lot to get good at it, but it doesn't mean like if you don't start playing at 5 years old, you can't be any good at it. Would you consider your swing to have launch angle? Well, a swing doesn't have launch angle. Launch angle is a measurement of the ball's flight off of the bat. So every ball that is hit has a launch angle. A swing does not have a launch angle. A swing has an attack angle, which is the degrees in which the bat is coming into contact with the ball. Hi, Miles Lucido. My furthest home run, I think, didn't you guys ask me that last game? My furthest home run was probably, I don't know how far it was because there's no official distance, but the two furthest balls I've ever hit were in single A, Rancho Cucamonga. I hit one like up over the scoreboard and out of the stadium. And at Springfield in double A, Springfield, Missouri, I hit 2 home runs that both went out of the park and they went pretty far. So I could be like, I could just make up a stat. Went 480. Didn't go 480, but was I always the best player on my high school team? No, definitely wasn't always the best player. We had a really good high school baseball team. We won the state championship my freshman year, and we typically are always like in the running for the state championship. So, I wasn't always the best player. I'd say I was probably one of the better players most years, but my freshman year, actually, I started the season on JV and then I got called up to varsity. We won the state championship that year. I actually played the outfield my freshman year throughout the playoffs and in the state championship game. And then my sophomore year, I started the season in the outfield and then was moved to shortstop and then played shortstop basically sophomore, junior, senior year. And typically hit at the top of the lineup, but I wasn't the best player. I was one of the better ones. Yeah, so pitching arm angle, so basically where the ball is released. And it really depends. Like, I don't want to, I mean, you'll see all different arm angles, right? And so you'll see some players that are more over the top, and you'll see some players that are a little bit more down here. So, um, I don't think, I don't think there's a specific arm angle that is best, or you'd see everyone throwing from that arm slot. Oh, let me see here. I missed a couple things here. How many baseballs a day would you recommend a 10-year-old to hit? Yeah, so I don't, I have no idea. I don't have a specific amount. Um, like my son's 7. We hit baseballs when he wants to hit baseballs. So I don't say like, hey, dude, you got to get out and hit, 50 baseballs today. Um, like he hit on Sunday. Was it Sunday he hit? We just hit till he was, well, actually, we hit until I had to go home. So we just hit, he would have hit 4,000 baseballs. And eventually I had to say, like, hey, like, we have to go home and eat dinner. He didn't hit any baseballs Monday and he's sick today. He was sick yesterday too, actually. So, I don't know if there's a specific number. I don't force him to hit a certain amount. At that point, I feel like it becomes a chore, right? Like, I don't ever want it to become a chore, that he has to get in a certain amount of swings. So, Evan, thank you so much for the super chat. I am in a long distance relationship with my girlfriend. When you and Laura were dating while you were almost always on the road, how did you manage? We should have Laura come down and talk about that. So, yeah, I was in a long distance relationship with Laura for a long time. I played 8 years, and for 8 years we lived together 1 year. She came out to live with me for 1 year. So for 7 of the years, we were in a long distance relationship. And then I went back to college. We were married. Even when we were married, we were in a long distance relationship. I lived in North Carolina and went back to college as almost a 30-year-old, and she lived here in Massachusetts. So, it's we talk to each other. Well, we talk to each other a lot on the phone. But we actually never. Sorry, I had like this spicy chicken for dinner tonight, and my nose won't stop running. Every time I eat this chicken, it's like a Thai chili sauce, spicy, makes my nose run. I'm 17 and coaching U10 baseball team. Any advice going into the season? Yeah, with our young kids, I try to teach them. First, I want them to have fun. I want them to enjoy playing the game. I always say that to every coach. Like, don't be the reason kids don't want to play baseball anymore, especially young kids, like 10-year-olds. Then trying to teach them the fundamentals and kind of just like the way to play the game. A lot of kids at that age don't really understand. When I say the way to play the game, like how to run the bases, how to run the bases hard. Like our league, you can lead and you can steal and you can do all that stuff. So the fundamentals of the game, giving them a good foundation, teach them how to play the game hard, how to have fun, how to be a good teammate. I've noticed that. I actually noticed that this weekend with our team a little bit. I had to talk to them. A kid misses the ball, and there's certain kids that throw their arms up in the air or catch the ball, right? And so just teaching them, how you act. What does it mean to be a good teammate? Like how do we treat our teammates, talk to our teammates, show good body language. like, so all those things are things I'm trying to teach all of our young players. What are MLB dugouts like? Well, it depends. Some are really awesome, and some are like Fenway Park where you can't even move. And probably the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my life is trying to pee mid-game at Fenway Park, because there's a toilet in the dugout, and like it's like smaller than a closet. You can't even fit in it. So that's the most uncomfortable dugout I've ever been in. No, I'm not still a Red Sox fan. I have not been for a long time. So what's a good approach when batting? You feel like you're struggling in the game? My approach is always very simple in the game. You don't want to be thinking too much. I usually think about getting a pitch middle chunk of the plate and hitting it middle part of the field. That's how I tried to keep it really simple. I tried to hit a line drive and hit the pitcher right off the face, or right off the top of the hat. So, Danny Boy, I don't have a team actually. I just watch baseball and cheer for players. Hey, Josh DMV, thank you so much for the super chat. For one episode, you need to change video game Matt's name to Matt Twinkle Toes. Next game, I'll do that for you. The facility. So the facility, I'll give you guys a quick update on the facility. The facility is all done, as you guys saw in the videos. But there was a wall. You guys, if you've seen the videos, you know there's like a big black wall that I spent all like 3 days painting. Well, not just me, a bunch of us. That wall apparently was made of the wrong material. I didn't construct the wall, but I painted it. And so that wall had to be taken down, and a new wall has to be constructed that is up to code. And so we're still waiting. We don't build the wall. That's not our responsibility. We're still waiting for that wall to be constructed. And then once it's finally constructed, we'll be able to go in there. But right now we're outside anyway, so it doesn't really matter right now. But do you see yourselves in 5 to 10 years being an MLB coach? No, probably not. I mean, I've had a lot of offers over the last 5 to 10 years to be a coach at the professional level, and I have not pursued any of them. So in 5 to 10 years, I don't really see myself doing that either. But who knows what I'm doing?
One quick favor.
Sure.
Will you look under that blanket behind those pillows and see if little dog's over here? I can't find little dog in there.
All right, everybody, hold on one sec.
I don't know if you brought it down here one day.
Nope.
Under that one.
My son has lost his friend, who he calls Little Dog. So we have to try to find him, and I just kicked the camera. Hold on. No, he's not here.
You know what? I think it was.
No Little Dog sightings.
Right here.
Yep. So my son has he has a bunch of stuffed animals, but does anyone else have this, like an animal or stuffed animal or something that you used a lot as a kid, but you grew up and you never could get rid of it? Like for my son, he had this little dog, stuffed animal dog, and when he was like 1, he got it when he was a little baby. And when he was old enough to talk, we said, "What do you want to name it?" And he said, "Little Dog," because it's a little dog. And then we got him a bigger dog, and that was named Big Dog. And then we got him a new little dog because he would bite on Little Dog and like slobber all over him when he was 2 and 3 and 4. So we got him a new one, and that was New Little Dog. But New Little Dog has never been able to replace Little Dog. So like when Little Dog gets lost, we try to give him New Little Dog. The New Little Dog gets kicked to the curb. He wants Little Dog. And even though he's now 7.5, he needs to sleep with Little Dog at night. He does not like when Little Dog is not with him. And we don't know where Little Dog is right now. Laura's looking for him. I think that's funny, actually. Just this kind of reminded me of something real quick. I know this is off topic, but like when people are like so tough, like, "Oh, come on," like like when I'm watching my son's games, right? So like I'm watching my son's little league games or whatever they're called games and like kids miss balls or like pop-ups or can't catch or whatever. And like some people are like, come on, throw strikes, come on, what are we doing? And all this stuff. And I just sit there and watch the game. I don't really care if he hits well or does well, like awesome, great. But if he doesn't, like, he'll do fine tomorrow. And like he still needs to sleep with little dog. Like, let's not get too upset about like swings or misses and like balls that go through our kids' legs. He sleeps with little dog, okay? he needs little dog. So I don't think it's time yet to be upset about his batting average. Josh DMV. I bet the new little dog is a 99-cent diamond or 99 diamond, not 99 diamond. Hey, sports fan. Yeah, mine was my thumb. I always sucked on my thumb. And then I remember I got to a certain age. I don't remember when it was, but I remember my cousin used to one of my cousins used to like make fun of me for sucking on my thumb. So then I think I kind of stopped after a while. I forget what age it was, probably like 19 or something. I'm just kidding. It wasn't that old, but what tips and drills to recommend to become a better blocking catcher? So if you go on our YouTube channel, which you're on now, and go to catching videos or the catching playlist, I have a bunch of drills on there. It's hard to describe them all on here, but I have a bunch on there. What age would you teach a kid how to do palm up, palm down? It really depends on their swing. Like if you tell a young kid to go palm up, palm down, they might get really armsy and get this motion going right here. If you have a kid that wants to swing like this and kind of push his bat and kind of come over the top, then you might want to talk about trying to get turned palm up, palm down. So it really depends on the player, their swing. I would never tell my son to try to get palm up, palm down because which most kids do, he gets this rear elbow really leads in his swing. So he actually gets palm up like way, way, way back here because the elbow leads because he never really gets pulled back into a good strong position, which is common for most young kids. So I would never tell him to try to get palm up, palm down earlier. But then you might have another 7-year-old again that just swings like this. And so maybe feeling that palm up is a good feel for them. Hey, thank Card Champs. I appreciate that. Right, so like every hitter has a different, like feels are really important. Yeah, I like that. No scholarships or scouts are here to draft your kid. It's fun. It's here for fun. Exactly. I agree. I like to just sit and, just watch the game. And I don't know if it's because I've struck out so many times in my life, right? Like I've had so many at-bats and so many strikeouts and I've made so many errors and everything that like when I was at my son's game a few nights ago, like he hit a really hard ball to the first baseman. The guy made a nice play, got him out, and then next at bat, he like foul, strikeout. I didn't feel like any emotion either. Like I'd like him to get a hit because I know he gets happy when he gets hits, but I wasn't like, oh, or I wasn't even like, oh man. Like I was like, well, he struck out. We'll go to the next at bat. I don't know. Maybe that'll change when he gets older, but I feel like I've struck out so much that like I'm immune to strikeouts now, I guess. Foul balls toward the lead foot. So if you're hitting a lot of balls down and at your front foot, well, you could be late, but you could also probably be cutting across kind of an out to in swing instead of from the inside out. So kind of coming around the ball, coming over the top, kind of, I call it steep to the ball. Could probably do it. I am not currently playing MLB The Show, no. My son's supposed to be sleeping. So my son actually right now he actually has COVID. He got COVID yesterday. So everyone's staying away from him. He's been in our room, or not our room. He's been in his room, locked away, because I need to make sure that I don't get it and that no one else gets it because I need to go to work. So So we put MLB the Show, we put PlayStation 5 in his room and moved the TV into his room, which he's never had because he has to just stay there and isolate. So he's probably on MLB the Show right now. I put him to bed like 30 minutes ago and said go to sleep, but it would not surprise me if he snuck out or got up and grabbed the controller. Hey, Blake Brown, thank you so much for the super chat. My son has a high D2, low D1 glove and D3 JUCO bat. I have to figure out how to get the bat around on velocity. How do I mimic pitcher's motion without live at bats? Okay, so you're trying to work on hitting velocity. So here's a couple of things. So one thing you can do, there's a couple different things. So you can try to mimic games, whether that's by having somebody that can throw hard enough BP, shrinking the distance. So maybe moving the L screen up, like that'll do it. But not everyone can throw good BP. Not everyone can mimic a pitcher that throws hard. You can use machines. We use a lot of machines at our practices. You can turn the speed up. Some of that also though, so some of that could work, right? So there's some people that'll say, let's up the difficulty, let's challenge the hitter, and let's force the hitter to adapt, basically, so the hitter's got to hit velocity, so their body has to organize itself in a way that is able to then hit that velocity. And that is, some people believe in that, and I do think there is evidence that shows that can happen and that difficult training is important. At the same time, sometimes just upping the difficulty, if there's something in the player's swing that isn't allowing them to get to that pitch, so maybe your son can't hit high velocity because something in his swing is happening. He's not in the proper sequence. His bat path is poor. It could be a bunch of different things. Then turning the velocity up and trying to mimic really fast pitching by itself might not make the type of changes that he actually needs, right? So the body might just not be able to make that compensation without someone saying to him, hey, you have to do this differently. So I'm kind of a believer in, kind of starting with the swing and making some adjustments based on what he's doing. And then we train that with kind of lower intensity, less difficult drills. And then we challenge that with higher intensity, more difficult drills, and see if we can get those movements to go from the low difficulty drills to the high difficulty drills, and then we can move it to the game. So hopefully that makes sense. So it might not be as easy as just trying to mimic a fast pitcher, because if there's something, again, in his swing that is not allowing him to be short to the ball or quick to the ball or have good bat speed, then just making the drill more difficult a lot of times won't fix what the issue is. Joe Schmo, thank you for the super chat. My high school coaches were toxic and made my friends and I have terrible self-esteem. Do you ever talk about mental health to young players? Yeah, so mental health is really an interesting topic, and I don't know if I ever talk specifically about mental health, but I think a lot of the things that we talk about, I think self-esteem is important, confidence is important. I found that we've talked a lot about, and every player is a little bit different, right? So I think getting to know your players is really important, understanding how they think, kind of what makes them tick, and then figuring out what to do, what to say, how to coach each player to get them in the optimal mental state to play the game. And that is much easier said than done, and players are very different. I think that's one thing that the biggest thing I've noticed coaching high school this year is all of the conversations, that I've had to have with players to try to get them in the right mental state. Because you have some players that are nervous, some players that are scared, some players that are too excited, some players that are, where they need to be, some players that, kind of need to be kicked and pushed, and some players that need to be pulled back a little bit, and some players that you can talk to a certain way, and some players that you have to, talk a different way to get them. And then, so that's the interesting part of coaching, that when you coach high school, like for me, and you see players every day, you start to learn players' personalities more and how they think, and you have more of those kind of one-on-one conversations with them, which is different than travel ball, where a lot of times you don't see the players every day. You don't get to know them as well as you do maybe like some high school guys. So long-winded answer to yes. I don't think you had said, let me go back again. Yeah, mental health. We talk a lot about, so mental health, yeah, I guess we talk a lot about, or I'm always thinking about, cognizant of their mental state. I'm not an expert in that area, but. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, my leg hurts. Let me try to move here for a second. Okay. Do we use pitching machines for outdoor practices? Yep, we use them tonight. We use them every day for outdoor practices. So I like to try to change up add as many variables as possible. That actually probably isn't the right way to say it. My goal is not to just add in tons of variables, but I try to change up, whether it's machine pitching, me throwing, someone else throwing easy BP. Like my BP is very tough to hit. We have other coaches, like my father's BP is very easy to hit. Unfortunately, he had surgery. He hasn't been able to throw BP in a little bit. Tobin Clark Goldfeld, another one of our pitchers, is a more easy BP. We'll put the machine on fast. We'll put it on slow. We'll put it on curveballs. So like trying to change the difficulty around instead of just seeing the same difficulty all the time. I think pitching machines are actually super underrated. Back when I played, a lot of times players would say, or people would say like, oh, you can't get any timing off a pitching machine, so it's a waste of time. I think pitching machines, again, are really valuable. For one, it's hard to throw lots and lots of BP to lots of players. It's a lot easier just to shoot in the machine. So you get a lot of quality swings, but you can also make it much more difficult. We had this conversation just about 10 minutes ago. You can change the velocity, you can change the spin, you can change the movement of the ball. So there's so many things you can make practices more game-like instead of just throwing nice, easy BP in there. Chet, thank you so much for the super chat. Hi, Matt. I live in Chicago. Best way to get my son's arm active again without injury. Freshman ball just started. He pitches. So, yeah, that's a good question. So here's the hard part, and I don't know how much he plans on pitching. One thing that we do is a lot of people will say that throwing too much causes, like a lot of arm injuries, throwing too much. I would say that we're more of the belief that not throwing enough, not getting your arm conditioned to be able to handle the workload that you need during the season. So what a lot of players do is they don't throw at all, and then the season starts, and then there's these huge demands placed on you, and your arm is basically crying, saying, I went from doing nothing to then having to, throw live in a game. And then your arm starts crying. So this is a hard part. Like right now, if you're in season and his arm isn't ready to go, and now you're going to try to ramp it up like real quick. So we have like an on-ramp process. A lot of our guys throw, I don't want to say year round, but they throw a lot throughout the year. And we kind of start to build them up. We start in December and we build them up all the way to the season in April. And then we go from there. So, we take, December, January, February, March, 4 months kind of is like an on-ramping for our pitchers. So it's hard to say right now with such a short time if he's just starting ball and he's just trying to get ramped up now. It's definitely going to be difficult. So I would just be careful that the demands placed on him are not too high too quickly, because that's when players usually start to feel arm issues. So I would just be careful ramping them up. And I know that's not an exact answer to your question. But hopefully it gives you some insight. Christian Richard or Christian Richard, thank you so much for Super Chat. What do you think of the universal DH a month into the season? What changes would Commissioner Antonelli make? The universal DH. So I'm a fan of the universal DH. I like the designated hitter. I know it takes some of the strategy out of the game. I personally just don't like watching automatic outs. I understand some pitchers, very few, can actually hit, and most of them can only bunt. Some of them can't even do that. So I like watching more offense, and I like watching a good hitter hit. So I'm fine with that. To be honest, like I said, I actually have not watched a lot of games lately because the thing with the Major League season, my busiest time of the year is March, April, May. Those are the busiest, and a little bit of June, because we have a ton of Antonelli baseball teams going on. I have high school baseball. I have tons of people that want lessons, and I have all this craziness. So right now, I don't get to watch a lot of games. So I actually am not in touch lately with how the season is going. I was for the first few weeks, and then I just have not been able to follow. Okay, what do I think of using Game Changer for high school baseball? So I think that's fine. For me, the way that kind of I think of stats is we have and typically I think most teams have a parent or a volunteer that runs it. And then as the coaching staff, any plays that are questionable, the coach can overrule it. So I do think, I will say this, for Antonelli baseball, we don't keep stats. And even for high school, I don't even care about stats. I keep my own stats. So I'll give you a rundown of how we keep stats real quick. I've said this before, but this is how I keep the stats for everything, is offensively, I don't even care about singles, doubles, triples, home runs, any of that stuff. What I do is every time a guy hits a ball, we judge you in 3 areas. The first area is how hard the ball was hit. We judge it on a 1, 2, or 3 scale. A 1 is a weakly hit ball. A 2 is an average hit ball. And a 3 is a hard hit ball. So if you hit the ball hard, you get a 3. And then after that, we write down the ball flight. And so if it's a ground ball, we put a G. If it's a pop-up, we put a P. If it's a fly ball, we put an F. If it's a line drive, we put an L. And then we put the direction third. So L is left field, C is center field, and R is right field. And so if you hit a hard line drive to left field, you'll get a 3LL. So when I look at it after the game, even if you lined out to the left fielder, it doesn't matter, right? So like in a normal scorebook, if you hit a hard line drive to the left fielder and you got out, it would say L9. In my book, it says 3LL. So, during the high school game, when I'm looking at how players are doing, right? Again, when I look at the chart, I don't see like single walk E5, or I don't see any of that. So I just see, 1 PC, which means, a weak pop up the center. And so that's how I judge everything. I just think it's much better. So long-winded answer, I don't care about stats, right? Like, I think people make way too big a deal about stats. I stopped putting stats up on Antonelli baseball after our first year. The reason I did that is because everybody complained about the stats. Everybody complained. Like, I was getting emails and calls from parents saying, the website says that my son's 3 for 10, but he's 4 for 10. How did you judge that an error? That was a hit. I was like, he's a 12. I don't care what he's hitting. Right, like I have no interest, I don't care. So I care so much more about what are his at-bats like, not what is his batting average. So, if he hits the ball 6 feet down the line and the catcher trips out of the box and you get an error and he gets a hit, Like, what does that tell? Like, who cares? Okay. So, like, I've seen people, like, I've gotten into fights with people yelling at me about the way the scorebook was kept at like 12U baseball. So I was like, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this. I have no interest. So we stopped keeping stats. Then the next year, people said, well, why aren't we keeping stats anymore? And I said, because they don't matter. Like, they don't matter. I don't care. Right? And we try to talk into our kids. I have to tell our high school guys, this like, whoops, sorry, I'm trying to change this. I tell our high school guys, like, I don't care. Like, when I look at the stats, if you're hitting 280 and one kid's hitting 230, I'm not playing the 280 over the 230 based on those numbers. I don't care, right? I'm looking at the quality of your bats, and that's how I make my judgment. So, anyways, right? But everyone gets so caught up in like the stats and everything. I always hear a game changer, right? Like, I don't know. What is your opinion of this? I don't like the infield fly rule. If you don't catch the ball, then the batter, should not be out. Should be, if ball not caught, then I'll run advance at base, but no more. Yeah, I don't know. I just think the infield fly rule, like, I don't have a problem with it. Most kids still, the infield fly rule has been around forever, and most kids still don't understand the rule. Like, it literally happened in our game 2 weeks ago. Bases loaded, high pop up to the third baseman, infield fly, batters out. I'm screaming at everyone, stay on the base, stay on the base, stay on the base. The ball drops, everybody runs. Nobody has any idea what's going on. The balls are being thrown all over the place. The other team doesn't know the rules. We don't know the rules. Nothing, right? Like, I've seen it happen in high school. I see it happen all the time. So, I guess teaching moment. We'll see you, sports fan. And that's true too. A lot of times the umpires, they can't hear it. Sometimes they do say it really quiet. I typically scream louder than the umpire. Sometimes I beat the umpire to the call, and the umpire hasn't even said infield fly, and I'm screaming, stay on the bag. So, we lost a high school huge playoff game on an infield fly. The exact same thing happened. You've been hitting grounders. So if you're hitting a lot of grounders, I would check bat path first. Make sure that you're not attacking the ball on a negative angle. And then that would be my first thing. And to make sure you're not late as well. Sometimes guys catch the ball late, and you're catching it on a downward swing because you're late, and the ball always goes in the ground. Yeah, so the infield fly rule is basically just if there's runners on first and second or bases loaded with less than 2 outs, and the ball is hit, a fly ball is hit in the infield, or that could be caught by an infielder with ordinary effort. The umpire says infield fly, batter's out. So the defense can't drop the ball on purpose and then turn a double or triple play. So if the ball drops, the batter's out, the base runners can advance at their own risk, but they don't have to. So they can just stay on the bags. They should just stay on the bags in most cases. Do I like the intentional walk? Yeah, I don't mind the intentional walk. It's fine. Least favorite minor league stadium I played in? I'm trying to think. Probably something in the Northwest League, although Visalia wasn't very good. I heard Bakersfield was terrible, but I never played there. Drills in the tee. You just got to watch our hitting playlist and really get into that hitting playlist, because I talk a lot about bat path and drills that you can work on and all that stuff. So I would go through our hitting playlist. Yeah, infield fly you can run if you want. If the ball drops, you can advance at your own risk. You don't have to advance, but you can advance. I got natural risk. Must-have training gear. We don't really have any must-have training gear. I think there are tools that help, but I wouldn't call anything a must-have. Must-have a ball and a bat really is like the only must-haves. Hitting the outside pitch better. How do you hit the outside pitch better? I think a lot of it is being in good posture, so butt out, chest over, and what I call staying over the plate. So basically, your rear shoulder is going to work under a little bit more, and you're going to be tilted over the plate more. Some people call that side bend. A lot of people on the outside pitch or just in pitches in general, they want to come off the ball this way and then they can't hit the ball away. So you've got to stay in good posture and you've got to be able to turn in that good posture. The international draft, I don't know. I don't really have a thought on it. I think it's fine. I'm like a weird person. I don't know if I'm a weird person. Like the rules and all that. A lot of people say like, oh, sorry, what rules don't you like? And, what rules would you change and all that stuff. This might just be my personality. I don't know. I don't care what the rule is. Just tell me what the rule is. And then I want to play by that rule. There's some rules, I guess, that I think are stupid, but I'm just like, all right, what are the rules? Cool. Like when I go to home plate, a lot of times, you go to home plate at like these young level games and people like start talking about the rules, right? What are we doing? Are we calling blocks? Are we giving them a warning? Are we, blah, 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 blah. And, some coaches are very adamant. No warnings or yes warnings or whatever. I have no opinion. I'm like, whatever you want. Just tell me the rules and I'll tell the team the rules and we'll play by those rules. And that's really it. Is it too late for me to go pro if you're not being scouted by 15? No. Like I said, I was sucking my thumb still at 15. So no, it's not too late. You have plenty of time. You have to just keep working hard and getting better. You don't have to be on a good travel ball team or high school team. There's kids in the Dominican Republic right now that are not on a good they don't play travel ball and they might not play high school ball and they might not have anyone that knows who they are at 15 and, they can still be studs. So, hey, Jason. A 31-inch bat at 6'3". Well, I will say I've never heard of that before. That's the shortest bat I've ever heard of for a 6'3" kid. So I used a 31-inch bat when I was 12, so I have no idea. To me, that just seems like it's a really, really small bat. But could everyone give this video a like? That would be awesome. Oh, that's good, Julio. Keep it up. If a kid showed up at a trial with a wiffle ball bat, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. My approach to the plate, do I encourage kids to take the first pitch? No, I never encourage our kids to take the first pitch. I encourage our kids to be ready to hit from the very first pitch. So I tell our kids, you have to literally be ready to hit from the first pitch. If it's your pitch in your zone, the pitch you're looking for, and it's first pitch, take a hack. That is my approach. Not saying you have to swing first pitch. I never tell kids they have to take first pitch. I never tell kids they have to take a strike. The objective for me, if you're trying to develop a player, right? We're trying to develop hitters. So if you try to tell a hitter don't swing, what are you teaching them, right? If I say you have to take a pitch, you're probably not timing up the pitch anyway because you're not in a yes mindset. You're not in a swing mindset. So you're probably not really timing the pitch up anyway. So yeah, I want to try to develop our players to be hitters. In order to do that, you have to put them in a mindset to hit. We'll play some teams where you can tell that they're told just take, right? Especially at young levels, if pitchers struggle with command, take. Oh, we're going to take a strike here. I never do that, especially at young levels again. I coach 11U. I'm never going to tell our team to take strikes. Okay. I think I did it once this year. Excuse me. It was last inning. We were down by a lot. We were down by, I think, like 4 or something like that. And I said, hey, okay, now we're going to take a strike here. And I only did this one time. A lot of times I would say, hey, just, same approach, get a good pitch to hit. So I almost never, ever do it. I did do it there. And I did do it in high school once this year where I told our guys we're going to take a strike. In the last inning, we're down by a lot. And, again, it's based on how the team has been doing and who the opposing pitcher is and all that stuff. But I don't like to give takes very much. Related to infield fly rule, why aren't players drilled to intentionally drop liners for double plays? So I don't know the exact specifics of the rule, but you can't technically, and maybe someone else knows the wording of this rule better. You can't technically drop you can't intentionally drop a ball to turn a double play. I don't know what the wording is on that. Now, some players will do it, they'll knock it down. But I believe the rule is you cannot intentionally miss a ball to create a double play. If anyone knows the exact ruling on that, you can let me know in the comment section. My favorite podcast to listen to is, so I listen to a couple different podcasts. I like GM's, is it called GM Street? I don't know what it's called actually now. It's with Michael Lombardi. GM Shuffle, GM Street, I don't know. I really like that podcast. There's a coach's podcast that I listen to. I don't know the names of any of these things. GM Shuffle, it might be GM Shuffle. I have the podcasts that I listen to. I just don't know the names of any of them. There's a really good coach's podcast. There's a Patriots podcast that I listen to a lot. So those are kind of like the main podcasts that I listen to. There's a couple of baseball ones. Geez Louise. I don't know. I literally don't know any of the names of these. What are the baseball ones I listen to? I don't remember. Yeah, Jim Shuffle's great, Corey. I've been listening to it for a bunch of years. I like Michael Lombardi personally. He teaches me a lot of stuff that I just think he's a really smart guy. And he's got a ton of experience, and he's been around. I mean, he's worked for Al Davis. He's worked for Bill Belichick. He's worked for Bill Walsh. I'd be an idiot not to listen to someone that's worked for like some of the greatest minds in football. So I learned something every time I learned something about coaching, not just about football, but just something about coaching. So Corey, I don't do coaching. We haven't done any coaching clinics, but we've thought about doing those. I might do those, especially once we get the facility open. We do overload, underload swing training. Yes. Did I do college ball? I did play college, yes, and I coached in college. I played at Wake Forest and coached at Wake Forest for a year and Wake Forest for a year and Holy Cross. Your 10-year-old is dragging his back elbow, so, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Dragging, when you say dragging, do you mean dragging like this, where it's like leading, or dragging like it never works under? Is it okay to peek at the catcher position? You got to be careful with peeking. Pitchers in opposing teams will take exception to that. So I'm usually a huge Celtics fan, but this year something happened and I got so busy with baseball that I just never watched the Celtics. And now, like, if this feels really weird to say, I'm not. It stinks that I'm not like a huge Celtics fan this year. I missed the season. I've been so busy. This is the busiest I've ever been in my life. I really need like a personal assistant at this point. Oh boy. Let's see here. How important is the mental side of baseball? Very, 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 very important. The physical side of baseball is super important too. Like, I think sometimes people get carried away and they're like, oh, like 90% of the game is mental. I do think some of the game is mental. I think there's a lot of the game that's physical. So I think it's both. People always told me, like, when I was struggling hitting, everyone kept telling me it was the mental side, right? Like I'd gone crazy or whatever. No, like the physical side just stunk, right? Like I couldn't, my swing stunk, right? Send me to every shrink you want, send me to give me medicine, go whatever you want. Like, my swing stinks. What do you want me to do? There are some players that mentally do have a tough time getting out of their own way. So the mental side is important, but I think a lot of times people like want to just jump to the mental because it's like, I don't know the physical, I can't figure it out. It's got to be mental. This kid's a head case. Traditional catching stance or one knee down. I like, listen, I think every catcher's different, what's comfortable for the catcher. I do think one knee down, from what I've seen from catchers, allows most of them to get a little bit lower, to receive the low strike a little bit better. Takes a lot of work to do or to work on it if you've never done it before, but. Why do guys take 3-0? Some players hit on 3-0. I mean, I think the thing with 3-0 is a couple things. One, you can get real picky, right? So you consider a pitch that's just perfect. I mean, it's not perfect, you take it. Some guys will take anything, even if it is perfect, and their approach is, well, the most important thing in baseball is scoring runs, but getting on base is important. So kids say, or people say, I'm going to take 3-0, I'm going to make this guy throw me 3 strikes or at least more than 1 strike. The thing you got to be careful of is he throws you 3-0 right down the middle and you take it, and then he paints 3-1, and now it's 3-2, and he can do whatever he wants. He can throw a breaking ball in the big leagues or change up, and now you've just wasted an at bat. So, it depends. Depends who you're facing and what type of hitter you are and all that stuff. When will a team finally go 162-0? Never. Will never happen. Ever. Baseball's too hard to go 162-0, and the talent at the big league level is too high, and the teams are, even the worst team in the big leagues, it's just baseball, right? The worst team in the big leagues can beat the best team in the big leagues any day. It's just too difficult to win. Do you believe youth travel baseball is burning kids out? No, I don't think so. Some people. So here's my thoughts on this real quick. Every sport has tried to go year round, right? And it's difficult because like sports have just become business, right? Like, so I own Antonelli Baseball. It is a business. Now, some baseball businesses focus too much on the business, not enough on the baseball. And some focus on the baseball and not as much on the business. For us, like, I try to focus on the baseball as much as I can while understanding that it is a business, right? So like, if you don't think of it at all as a business, then there'll be no more baseball because it is a business, right? So it's like balancing these two things, but the baseball's always got to be more than the business. With that being said, right, like, so now because it's a business, people say, well, we've got to offer, something in the spring and something in summer and something in the fall and something in winter and something in the, right? Because it is a business, it goes year round. At the same time, I try to tell players, like, play multiple sports and you don't have to do baseball, right? Like, some kids want to do fall ball. If you want to do fall ball, there's the opportunity to do fall ball, but don't feel like you have to do fall ball. like go play football or go play hockey or play whatever, right? So like the tough thing is now is like every sport offers that sport year round, and so some people either get burnt out because they'll just do the same sport all the time. Which again, some players do the same sport all year round and they love it, and that's great. Go for it, right? Some people think that they have to do every sport year round, and now they're playing like 17 sports all year round, and then they run themselves into the ground. So you just got to be like, it was easier when I was younger because sports weren't offered all year round, like every sport. So I could play baseball in the spring and summer, and football in the fall, and hockey in the winter, and I could play some basketball in the winter too, and it was fine. And you also have to realize, like, I try to remind people of this too, and keep, like we have winter workouts. Sometimes kids don't come because they're hockey players, and sometimes coaches would be like, well, he didn't show up all winter, or he didn't show up a lot in the winter, and I've got to, and I have to either tell people, or sometimes even me. Sometimes I'm like, well, the guy didn't come in the winter, but right, like maybe he's playing hockey every day. So you have to remind yourself of that also too. I don't know if that talk made any sense, but would I want to be an MLB manager one day? I have no idea. I don't want to be an MLB manager right now. I don't know if I would ever have that interest later. I really like what I do right now, coaching high school baseball and running Antonelli baseball. So is it too much for a 7-year-old to play baseball 4 times a week? No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, my son right now, he probably in his season has, I think, 2 or 3 days of baseball a week. But, he would, like, we go outside and hit and play catch and stuff more than that. So he would probably play baseball every day. If I asked him every day, if I was like, hey, you want to go play baseball? He'd say yes, every day. I try not to do that. I kind of like try to let him say, can we go play baseball? That way I don't feel like I'm like pushing baseball on him. So at least that's the way I've done it so far. I just kind of let him, if he wants to play, then as long as I'm at home and not at work, then I'll say, yeah, sure. My job, I feel like, is to never be like, no, I can't play baseball with you. If he wants to play baseball, and I'm home, then I play baseball with him. Yeah, top hand behind elbow, right? So yeah, so what you have to feel for those players is you got to get this arm typically. You've got to get this rear arm in this position longer. So like a lot of those players, if you watch them, I don't know your son, a lot of them will start to load and the elbow starts to come down. So they load, the elbow comes down, and then now it's in front, and then everything drags. So it's getting into this position where I can like kind of feel at my back, call it a pullback. And now from here, I can start to turn my hands, and now my arm will kind of come under, and then you go. So hopefully that makes sense. But get him into this strong hitting position. We talk about rear elbow behind top hand right here. My guess is he's probably not getting there. Sometimes kids are just too weak. A lot of young kids, they will get here, but then they'll swing with a lot of arms because the bat's heavy. So sometimes with young kids it's just hard. Like my son has a ton of rear elbow leading. Like for right now, I'm just letting him hit. He weighs 60 pounds. So daily reminders. Thank you so much for the super chat. Do you know what is said in coaches' meetings in the MLB? I mean, I've been in meetings with coaches and players. I've never been in an all-coach meeting in the MLB, so I don't know what is said in those meetings, but if those are the meetings that you're talking about. There's actually not a whole lot of meetings in the major leagues. Usually before every series, you're going to have kind of a scouting report and a breakdown of the other team. So if you're the pitching staff, you're going to break down the opposing team's offense. If you're and the catchers. If you are a hitter, you're going to break down the opposing team's pitchers and how they attack you, and you're going to get all that information. You're going to get defensive positioning, so how the other team hits the ball or where they want you to play every player. Now, a lot of times you'll see the players will be given like a little card that they'll put in their hat or in their back pocket. You see them pull it out and look, and it tells them how to shift. When I played, there was not as many shifts. It was more shades. So, but I never had a card for that. I was never given a card. I would just have a piece of paper in my locker, and it would say like let's say we're playing the Dodgers, it would have their lineup. And so, I can kind of remember their lineup when we would play them. So like Russell Martin would be the first hitter. So maybe it says like play Russell Martin straight up, play Andre Ethier, shade him pull side, shade Manny Ramirez pull side. Or maybe it'd be like, I don't know who else, Matt Kemp. Maybe it would say like Matt Kemp, like playing the pull. But those were never full shifts like they are today. Back when I was playing, there was like really never shifts. The only player I've said before, the only player we really shifted on was Prince Fielder. I'd have to play when he hit. I would play way in the outfield. I'd stand like, I don't know how many feet back. I'd go stand near the right fielder. I remember one time he hit me a ground ball and I got it like, way, way, way in the outfield. And you got to make a real long throw. How did I handle my emotions when I didn't succeed at the plate or messed up in the field? I think everybody handles emotions differently. Like I've seen some players that handle it by breaking things. Some players handle it by crying. Some players, when things were going really bad for me, I never really got frustrated. I got really like down and disappointed. So, some players, everyone's a little bit different. So, that way, Gus. How's the season going for you guys? Like baseball's a game of failure, and as much as you say like, oh, you got to stay even keeled and everything. Hell, I got pissed every time I got out. I would get freaking mad or, disappointed or bummed out or, how many times in my life I went and sat in a dugout and I'd be like, what am I doing? Like I just want to just never see a baseball again, and then 10 minutes later, I'd want to hit. So 4 complete games, guys. Holy crap. My son made varsity as a freshman. Congratulations. However, the coach is not really playing the games. Is there any good way to ask why? Or is this totally taboo? I'd have your son ask why, not you. I would just have him, he could talk to coach and find out why. I've learned one thing. This is a learning experience for me as a high school coach. You're going to have you're going to have some players that will never ask you anything, like ever, right? You just tell them what to do and they just do it. Then you have other players that want to ask why every little thing you ever ask them to do. And then you're going to have some players that in their head saying they don't think they should ever play. And then you're going to have some players that think that aren't playing that they should play every minute. And then you're going to have some players, it's like, I've actually been amazed at how much I've had to, that's funny, Julio. So, I would just have him maybe ask, talk to the coach a little bit, depending on how the coach, some coaches don't want to hear their players at all. I'm all for talking to my players, The only thing that I've really gotten upset at this year is like when players, continually, how do I say, not just disagree, Listen, there's been plenty of times in my career where the coach hasn't played me, and I've been like, what the hell, like, to myself, like, I'm better than this guy. I think I can do a better job than him. Um, you don't realize it until you're coached. Like, there's so many tough decisions to make, and and yeah, there's a lot of tough decisions to make, and you can't play everybody. The hardest thing, literally, like one of the hardest thing is deciding who's going to play in each game. You know, and as a coach, it stinks when you have to tell someone they're not playing. A lot of players get mad at you, and oh, coach doesn't like me, or he thinks I stink, or a lot of times it's not that at all. It's like I got to pick 9 guys. That's all I can pick. I can't pick any more than 9 guys, and I'm just going to go with who I think are the best 9 right now. And I might be right, I might be wrong, but I'm doing the best that I can to evaluate and put the best team on the field. Did Bud and the rest of the coaches yell a lot when the team was not playing well? What was it like when you were on a bad team? Bud never yelled at the team when I was on the team. Like he never yelled at us. Honestly, the only person that ever yelled at us was Jake Peavy. We lost to the Dodgers one game, and he was kind of pissed the way we played, and he kind of laid into the team. But Buddy never yelled at us. Again, at least while I was there. Trey, thank you so much for Super Chat. I am a high school coach. I feel that knowing the game of baseball is more important for a team rather than pure skill. How do you feel about that? Thank you. That's a great question. So, yeah, that's a great question. We could talk about this for a while. I'm learning a lot of this now that I'm a head coach at a new school. So I think that that skill is very important. There's no doubt about that skill is important, right? Like when the ball, like we have to be able to throw strikes. We have to be able to square the ball up. We have to be able to field the ball when it's hit to us. We have to be able to throw the ball across the diamond. So if you can't do that, it's really hard to win. So I'll start with that. But knowing how to play the game of baseball is then the next step after that, right? So like if we can do the fundamental things of throwing the ball, hitting the ball, and catching the ball, if we do that better than the other team, we're probably going to win. Then after that, the next step up is understanding the game of baseball, right? So like, for instance, I thought, just looking at our high school season so far, I thought the first few games, our skill level has really improved as we've gone on, but our knowledge of the game, how we're supposed to play it, also how I want us to play it, has improved a ton too. So knowledge of the game is really important, but skill is also really important. Once you can combine the both of them, which I feel like we're like slowly starting to do more and more of, we begin to play a lot better baseball, and we give ourselves a really good chance to win. So skill and knowledge, and put them together, and then then we can be really good. Best way to get swings in pregame without a cage. So you can use like a plyo ball, a squishy ball that doesn't go very far. Some teams will bring out like, just like these portable nets and just do like soft toss. The plyo ball is probably the best way to do it. All right, everyone. I'm going to answer one more question, and then I'm going to go upstairs because I told Laura I would hang out with her tonight. Any way to get out of your head when hitting? Yeah, think about something simple like call I call it, I was taught this, to have a final thought. So like when you're up there, what happens is sometimes, who said this? Was it Yogi Bear? Someone said that he had a quote, something like a full mind or a cluttered mind is an empty bat. So like when you're thinking of too many things, it gets really difficult to see the ball and hit the ball. So, if you're someone that's up there and you're like, where are my hands at? Where's my front foot? Get loaded on time and get into this position and step here. Or if you're someone that you get up and all you can think about is the last at bat. You can't get the last at bat out of your head. All you see yourself is like chasing that slider in the dirt or swinging at that fastball over your head. Right? Like some people have short-term memories where they just can forget about it. And some people just play bad things over and over in their head again. That's one thing that I had trouble with as a player. I do it as a coach too. Like after bad games, I just replay the bad game over and over and over into my head. I do this as a coach a lot, right? Like that's why I don't sleep now. Because I'll make a decision or something will happen in a game and I just replay it over and over and over again in my head. What's hanging out for a married couple? It's sitting on the sofa and watching an episode of like Laura will want to watch Grey's Anatomy, even though she's seen every episode 4,000 times. So I'd want to watch like Better Call Saul. So anyways, long answer to a final thought is something that can kind of like just like stop all like the stupid, all like the noise, the white noise going on in your head. And so like maybe that's like quick hands, right? So maybe you just get up there and think like, quick hands. Or maybe you think like, short to the ball or inside the ball. Or for me, it was like, I'm thinking about like, like line drive off the pitcher's head, right? So I'm thinking of something that kind of gets me away from thinking about all these other things. Like the whole idea of like, don't think too much, right? Like just, you can't stop thinking. Like it's very hard to just not think of anything, right? So you have to focus your attention onto something that it'll help you be successful. You can't just tell a player, stop thinking so much, it's like, it's the same thing with like don'ts. I hate the don'ts. Like, don't swing at that pitch. Don't strike out here. You don't ever want to think in don'ts and no's and negatives, right? So it's not, don't chase that slider away. It's, don't chase that slider down. Maybe it's see the slider up, or, it's, if you're a pitcher, it's don't throw that fastball in. It's visualize and see yourself throwing the fastball away. So try to always think in the positive and what you want to do. Don't think in the don'ts and the nevers and the negatives. So those are just a couple of mental tips for you. But really think about. I like to see what's going to happen. So see it first in your mind, and then you can go to a final thought. Like, so as a pitcher, if I was going to throw a fastball away, I would get the ball. I would get the ball and I would visualize. So if I'm throwing a fastball away, I would visualize myself throwing the fastball, boom, right to where I want to throw it. And then I would have my final thought, whatever that is. Maybe that's, it can be anything. Like, throw the ball through the catcher's chest, or, like pound the mid, or whatever it is, right? And then just go. So you see it, and then you have a final thought, and then you freaking go and just let it rip. It's the same thing in hitting. It's like, maybe I think like, hit a line, like see myself hitting a line shot right through the middle of the field. And then I think, quick hands. And then I just let it rip, and that's it. And then I see what happens, and then I adjust from there. But that would be my thought. That would be my mental mindset of most games. And then if I chase a pitch and I'm like, I get really pissed off. Then I would step out. I would take a deep breath. Maybe undo my batting gloves. Breathing is hugely important. Kind of helps slow your mind down. Then we go to like a focal point. You'll see a lot of players, they'll kind of look at their bat, take a deep breath. That's kind of bringing them back to the present. So like, we'll talk about like looking at the label of the bat. take a deep breath. Find the label of the bat. That kind of clears your mind and gets you to forget about the thing you just did terrible, right? And then when I feel good, then I step back up in there. That's why a lot of people complain when they're like, get in the box. Like, why is this guy taking forever to get in the box? Like, baseball is a very mental game. And so if you play it too fast, you start to speed up and you want to try to slow the game down, not speed the game up, especially on offense. So, sometimes you got to step out for a second, take a deep breath. Yeah. Why is he always calling me meat? I'm the one that drives a Porsche, something like that. Anyways, that's all we got. Hopefully, you guys all got something in here that will help you with your game. He's saying Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball. Great movie, by the way. One of my favorites. Anyways, have a good night, everyone. I'm going upstairs, hopefully not to watch Grey's Anatomy, but I need to catch up on Better Call Saul. I got a few more episodes of that. And then I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to get up tomorrow and do a bunch of baseball work. It's supposed to rain all day. We're supposed to play a high school game. Hopefully we get it in. If we don't, we'll be ready to play on Thursday. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the super chats. And we will talk to everyone later.